My name is Leslie Rakes. My parents were Neely and Lillian Rakes. I was born on Rakes' Branch on June 15, 1941, and then the big war come in December, I believe. And I guess there wasn't a whole lot of food. And I still remember food stamps. There wasn't food stamps back there, but the food, yes, they were food stamps, because there was stamps that you had to use to buy coffee or sugar or whatever. And I still have memories of Rakes' Branch, although we must have moved from Rakes' Branch to Bradfordville when I was about 5 years old. We lived on what we used to call Back Street, and right beside the house, we had roads like this. Well, you could go through this road, cross the street, and down in the river. And a lot of good memories on that corner there. We lived in a big house, and Daddy had a store in the front room. And my mother was tending the store one day, and it was raining, and electricity run down the power lines, and the insulation was off of it. Electricity jumped off the line and jumped through the window and shocked my mother. It caused some problems temporarily. My parents also had a store in another building with red brick siding, and they had to put in some gas tanks. That was back there when you had the old tall gas pumps, and you had to pump the gas up in a sight glass. If you wanted a gallon or 5 gallon, that's about all that helped with 5 gallon, I believe. You pump it up and then you drain it down. And when they was putting in that gas tank, my cousin was helping to dig, and he hit a rock and basically put out an eye. I don't think you could see out that eye. We had a big rat, biggest rat I've ever seen, and I wanted to catch that big rat. Well, I did catch that big rat. Seemed like to me it must have weighed 5, 6, 7 pounds, so that was a pretty good rat. I don't think I'm exaggerating there, but, and then we had a corn crib on the premises and an old barn, and somebody had killed a rabbit or two. And of course, being a child, they didn't know no difference. I wanted to save that rabbit so it wouldn't run away. Although it was dead, I threw it under a tub and shut it down on the ground. But my brother brought a horse, a Palomino pony horse from Raymond Hancock, and I think he gave $2.50 for it. And my brother had a dog named Bounce, and it could climb a ladder. We had chickens there on that little lot, and Daddy said he would give us a dime for every mouse we caught. Mom and Dad went to town or somewhere, and my brother said, let's hit some mice. We got a fishing hook and some string and put some cheese on the hook and dropped it down the screen door opening, and we caught 7. So that was big money in the old day, trapping mouses. I remember being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We'd leave the church house and go down by Sam Conder's, and again, you could go right to the river. So we'd go down there and get baptized. And I remember one time it came a big flood. The Rolling Fork River came out of the banks into the yard where we lived. And I remember my oldest brother swimming in that water. And when I started school in, 41 and 60, 47, I attended the Bradfordville School. And I was bashful, and I had double pneumonia. So the teacher didn't think I was smart enough to go to 2nd grade, so I had to take 1st grade over. So, but then I do believe that I attended 1st grade twice, and at Christmas time in the 2nd grade, we moved to Lebanon. I still remember a lot of people in Bradfordville, Hillary Kaufman, Billy Black's old store, Callaway's garage, the little store there where the Isaacs run. Susie and Miner, married to Marvin Miner, they raised chinchillas. And of course, you know, being so young, one thing, we moved from Brownsville, but you still remember a lot of things, Roscoe Camel, and, you know, you just sit and think a while, you think a lot of people that you know. Henry Bright dealt with horses, evidently. I remember T.C. Rakes. I don't know where he was going to with a bucket. I don't know, going to get some milk or something, I don't know. But you could hear T.C. come up the next street there banging on that old gallon bucket. And we went fishing in the Rolling Fork River. You know, we just went down the bank there, across the street. And I was supposed to keep the string to catch the fish. Well, had holding pocket, lost that, so my brother ducked my head underneath the water, so I never did care for water after that. But we would still come to Brasherfield from Lebanon to go to church and all that. And I remember the bank, the Dry's building. I remember the post office on the corner. Of course, you know, they built a new one, and then they built a bank. I don't know when it was built, but it seemed like there was a bank down there in the old Dry building. And my mother and daddy runs a little gas station, restaurant, little store, whatever you might call it, there on the corner. I don't remember too much meanness. I'm sure there was time when people drank a little too much or got in a fight and that type of stuff there. I remember there was a time there was a ruckus down at the Old Iron Bridge as you go out towards Lebanon. Somebody come and got Daddy. I don't know, it might have been a relative, I don't know, but somebody was calling for trouble, and Daddy said, well, I'll go down there, and he did. So evidently they got it straightened out the best I can remember. I don't remember anything taking place after that. I know that my mother and Lou Elam was good friends. The Bales, which Lou was a Bale, and later on, Frank, her brother, we traded around a little bit. In fact, I bought a lot from him down in Meldy Lake. And just a few days before Frank died, I made arrangements with Frank to come over and take him out to dinner. We went up to Cedarwood Restaurant, and it was more than Frank could eat. He said, I'll just take that home and eat later. I said, fine. And a few days later, I was told that, well, they call him Red, passed away. I couldn't hardly believe it because, you know, he was so healthy looking the night I seen him. I remember Edgar Elin. I remember a Mr. Feathers that brought me a bird and some apples when I was sick. I remember Bush Pendergraph, and Lucille was her name, and the son, I can't recall his name, but Walter, and he had some sisters, and but like I say, I was so bashful, I think I was afraid to much more than get out of the house. Now, the school, I remember a lot of good times there. And I remember at lunchtime, we'd have to go down in the basement, I guess you call it, to get whatever food we were going to have that day. I guess we brought it upstairs. They must have had tables in there, but I can't remember that.
They were downstairs.
And since they built a new school, I've come to a few of the dances. And after this is over, we can tell me if we're going to start having those again. I remember Beaufort Abel. You got a place about back here that's about 12 feet wide and 7 feet tall. Beaufort tried to jump from one side of that thing to the other and fell and broke his leg. I remember Charles Slack was chasing a couple of girls, and he didn't know anything about where they dumped the kitchen water. The girls jumped the ditch or whatever they had, and Charles fell in the water. I remember somebody tied a frog to the fence out there. Used to be a fence, somebody tied a frog to that. And I remember one time that must have been Mrs. Crow. She sent me outside to get some rocks, just small rocks, because she was going to use them rocks to help us count. So I guess we wasn't too smart, but anyway, I went out there and got the rocks. But it's still good memory. Oh, I remember Dr. Gregory's office just sitting right on the other side of the school property. I do remember the dry building. Up towards Gravel Switch, I didn't go up that way much. The church that I went to church at is no longer there. I don't remember the lot where the Dudleys was there a building on that before Sonny Kirkland and his wife put in that feed store?
Let's see. What was his name? It was a group that came in from Case County that built that feed mill first.
Okay, but before that.
Before that was the Browns. Let's see. Todd Brown's house.
Was there a time like 30, 40 years ago there wasn't no building on that land?
May have been. Now that big house was the Todd Brown's house. We had a porch all around the whole house, and it must have been built up enough that it didn't get flooded as much.
Where the Dudley's business is?
Where the business is now.
Well, see, the church bought that, and then they decided not to do it. And my uncle offered to buy it, and somebody outbid him by $100, but they let my uncle have it anyway. But I don't think it would be like $3,000 or $4,000, so I assumed there wasn't any building on that. But that's going back several places. Now, across from Dudley, there was a restaurant. Sam Wright had it. And then, of course, where Harold's place is, the garage and all, Sonny Pittman, I guess Sonny built that building, I guess.
He did.
Of course, the thing about here, the church there, they built a new church. It's been an improvement. And, of course, a lot of things that I give Braddocksville credit for a lot of things that's been done, and I'd like to see a lot more out of it. But I still remember a lot of people. Somebody called somebody's name, I would still remember a lot of the Braddocksville people. But since we moved to Lebanon when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, you know, you kind of lose contact here. I remember the old iron bridge and how you had to get on it coming into Braddocksville, because it's way off the road right now. More or less, you went around the edge of the hill there, I believe the way it was.